The bridge of the Eternal Dominion was silent. Admiral Vexner stared at the blue planet on his screen. Earth, such a small world, such a weak species. He had studied the reports. The humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. They had no plasma weapons, no particle beams. Their ships were ugly metal boxes powered by chemical fuel. "We are in weapons range, Admiral," his second officer said. Vexner's gray skin wrinkled around his 4 eyes. He almost laughed. Weapons range? These creatures had nothing that could threaten his fleet. 200 warships floated behind him. Each one could destroy a city. Together, they could turn Earth into dust. "Send the message," Vexner commanded. "Tell them to surrender. Tell them their world belongs to us now. Any resistance will be met with complete destruction." The message went out across all frequencies. Every human on Earth heard it. They saw the alien fleet in their telescopes. They understood what was coming. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chun watched the transmission end. She was 62 years old. Gray hair, tired eyes. She had spent her whole career preparing for this moment. Everyone had called her crazy. They laughed at her theories about hostile aliens. They questioned why she needed so much money for the orbital defense project. No one was laughing now. "General," a young officer said, "the president is calling." Sarah picked up the phone. "Yes, sir. Can we fight them?" The president's voice was tight with fear. "Tell me the truth." Sarah looked at her screens. 200 alien ships, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. Energy readings off the charts. Shield technology that seemed impossible. Every military expert said Earth had no chance. The aliens could destroy the planet without breaking a sweat. But Sarah knew something the experts didn't. "Sir," she said, "do you remember Project Thor? I thought that was canceled years ago." "It was never canceled, sir. I kept it running with hidden funds. We have 12 orbital platforms armed and ready. Each one has a Mark 7 railgun." "Railguns, General?" The president sounded confused. "How can bullets stop ships like that?" "They're shields. Their shields are made to stop energy weapons, sir. Plasma, lasers, particle beams. That's what everyone in the galaxy uses. But our railguns fire solid tungsten rods at 75,000 kilometers per second. The kinetic energy alone." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "Sir, I don't think they've ever seen anything like what we're about to show them." Long silence on the phone. "You're certain this will work?" "No, sir. I'm not certain of anything. But I am certain that surrendering means the end of humanity. I would rather fight and die than see our people become slaves." Another pause. "Then do it. God help us all." Sarah hung up. She looked at her team. These were the best soldiers and scientists humanity had. They had worked in secret for decades, building weapons the rest of the world thought were fantasy. "Activate all Thor platforms," she ordered. "Target the largest ship. Fire on my command." Far above Earth, hidden among thousands of satellites, 12 platforms came to life. Simple metal frames, massive electromagnetic rails. Between those rails sat projectiles of solid tungsten, each one 3 meters long, each one weighing 2,000 kilograms. The platforms turned silently in space, their targeting computers locked onto the Eternal Dominion. Capacitors charged with enough electricity to power a city. Admiral Vexner was getting impatient. The humans hadn't responded. Their primitive fleet wasn't moving. A few dozen ships were gathering near the planet, but they looked pathetic. "They do not answer," his communications officer said. "Perhaps they are too afraid," Vexner replied. "Very well. If they will not surrender, we will make an example. Target their largest city. Prepare to—" "Admiral," his tactical officer suddenly shouted. "Energy spike detected. Multiple sources in orbit." Vexner frowned. "What kind of energy?" "Unknown signature. Electromagnetic. Nothing like—" The officer stopped. His eyes went wide. "Admiral, something is coming toward us. Very fast." "I cannot." The officer never finished his sentence. From 12 different directions, 12 tungsten rods struck the Eternal Dominion. They hit at 75,000 kilometers per second. They passed through the energy shields like they weren't even there. The first rod punched through the forward hull, created a hole 10 meters wide. The kinetic energy turned to heat so intense that metal vaporized instantly. The rod continued through the ship, destroying everything in its path. Crew members, equipment, walls, all reduced to plasma in microseconds. The second rod hit the engine section, hit the main reactor. The explosion that followed was visible from Earth's surface. A new star blooming in the night sky. The third rod hit the weapons array. The fourth hit the bridge. Admiral Vexner had just enough time to feel confusion before he stopped existing. The fifth, sixth, seventh rods continued the destruction. By the time all 12 had passed through, the Eternal Dominion was nothing. Just expanding debris, cooling gas, scattered metal. The flagship of the Vexry invasion fleet had been destroyed in less than 1 second. Silence fell over the Vexry fleet. No one spoke. No one could believe what they just saw. Their shields had failed. Their armor had done nothing. 5 kilometers of warship had been reduced to nothing by weapons they couldn't even see. Captain Turvix commanded the second largest ship. He was now in charge. He stared at the debris field. His mind could not process what he was seeing. What happened? He managed to say. Unknown weapons, sir, his tactical officer replied. His voice was shaking. Projectile-based. Solid matter moving at extreme velocity. Our shields cannot stop them. They are not designed for physical objects at such speeds. How is that possible? No species uses projectile weapons. They are primitive, inefficient. We abandoned them 10,000 years ago. The humans did not abandon them, sir. They perfected them. Turvix made his decision quickly. All ships retreat. Jump to hyperspace immediately. But the Thor platforms were already charging for another volley. As the Vexry ships began to turn, more tungsten rods screamed across the void. 3 more ships exploded. Then 5 more. The Vexry fleet broke formation. Every captain desperate to escape. Only 67 ships managed to jump to hyperspace. The rest were destroyed or disabled. In 10 minutes, humanity had destroyed the largest invasion fleet the Vexry had ever assembled. On Earth, people came out of their homes. They looked up at the sky. They could see the explosions. Bright points of light fading to darkness. They didn't understand what happened. All they knew was the alien ships were gone. They were still alive. In her bunker, General Chun sat down. Her hands were trembling. She had just started an interstellar war. She had just killed thousands of alien beings. She had just changed human history forever. "Get me the president," she said quietly, "and start preparing. This isn't over. It's just beginning." She was right. 300 light-years away on the Vexry homeworld, the survivors were transmitting their reports. The High Command listened in disbelief. Their greatest admiral was dead. Their greatest ship was destroyed. A primitive species with projectile weapons had humiliated the mighty Vexry Empire. The Emperor himself demanded to see the recordings. He watched the Eternal Dominion die again and again. He watched his ships explode like insects under a flame. And he felt something he had never felt before in his long life. Fear. "Seal these recordings," he commanded. "No one is to know what happened here." But it was too late. The Vexry fleet had transmitted on open channels in their panic. Other species had intercepted the communications. Within hours, the recordings spread across the galaxy. Every world, every station, every ship received the footage. They watched a primitive species destroy an invasion fleet in minutes. They learned a new word, railgun. And for the first time in 12,000 years, the galaxy felt afraid of something other than the Vexry. On the Galactic Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, representatives from 300 species gathered in emergency session. The chamber was enormous, a sphere of gleaming metal and energy fields. Each species had their own platform floating in arranged positions. The eldest, a being of pure energy who had guided the council for millennia, called for order. But there was no order to be found. Every representative was talking at once. Arguments flew in 100 languages. They used primitive weapons, mass drivers. We banned such things ages ago. There was never any law. We simply stopped using them because energy weapons were more elegant. The Vexari were fools to attack without proper intelligence. The Vexari were the greatest military power in the galaxy. If these humans can destroy them so easily, what does that mean for us? We must make contact immediately. Bring them into the council. Are you insane? They just killed 100,000 Vexari. They are dangerous. The Vexari attacked them first. They were defending themselves. It does not matter who started it. What matters is they have weapons we cannot stop. The eldest raised a tendril of light. Slowly, reluctantly, the chamber fell silent. Representatives, the eldest said, its voice echoing through every mind present. We have watched the recordings. We have analyzed the data. There is no mistake. The humans have developed kinetic weapons of terrible power. Weapons our shields cannot stop. Weapons that make our entire military doctrine obsolete. A ripple of fear passed through the chamber. What do we do? Asked the representative of the Kalani, a peaceful species of traitors. Do we hide? Do we prepare for war? What if the humans decide to expand like the Vexari did? Then nothing in the galaxy will be able to stop them. The eldest replied simply, we talk to them. Those words hung in the air. 300 species, thousands of years of civilization, countless worlds and trillions of lives. All of it suddenly felt fragile, vulnerable, mortal. The Vexari representative stood on his platform. His name was Ambassador Dravik. His 4 eyes burned with hatred. The council must act, he shouted. These humans have committed an act of war against the Vexari Empire. They have murdered our people, our admiral. We demand justice. Justice. The representative of the Manthari, an insect-like species, clicked with derision. You invaded their world. You threatened to destroy their cities. They defended themselves. It does not matter. They have proven themselves to be savages, killers. If we do not destroy them now while we still can, they will destroy us all. And how do you propose we destroy them, Ambassador? The eldest asked. Your mighty fleet could not do it. What makes you think a larger fleet would succeed? Their weapons passed through your shields as if they were not there. Dravik had no answer. None of them did. On the other side of the galaxy, in a dark region of space known as the Void, other beings watched the recordings with very different eyes. The Crone Dominion had always existed on the edges of galactic civilization. They were predators, conquerors, beings who believed that strength was the only true virtue. Their supreme lord, a massive creature of scales and claws, watched the human weapons tear through the Vexari fleet. Unlike the Council, unlike the Vexari, the Supreme Lord did not feel fear. He felt opportunity. These humans, he rumbled, they are alone, new to the stars. They have powerful weapons, but they know nothing of galactic politics. Nothing of the games we play. His advisors waited in silence. The Vexari are weakened. The Council is afraid. And these humans sit on their little world, not knowing what forces they have set in motion. The Supreme Lord showed his teeth in what passed for a smile among his kind. Contact our agents in the Council. Tell them to push for a diplomatic mission to Earth. And make sure the Crone are included. What is your plan, Supreme Lord? These humans have shown us a weapon that can change everything. We will take that weapon for ourselves. By treaty if possible. By force if necessary. He spread his clawed hands wide. And then we will finish what the Vexari could not. We will conquer the galaxy. But far away on the small blue planet, General Sarah-Chun was already thinking about the same thing. She had won a battle, but she knew the war was just beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Earth. That was what the human news media called it. The name spread across the planet and then beyond, carried by radio waves moving at the speed of light in all directions. 3 weeks, and the galaxy was still in chaos. On the trade world of Kala Station, a massive structure floating between 3 stars, The marketplace that normally buzzed with activity was nearly empty. Merchants from 100 species huddled in groups, speaking in low voices. Everyone had the same question on their minds. Have you seen the new recordings? A Kalani trader, his blue skin pale with worry, showed his data pad to a group of fellow merchants. On the screen, human ships patrolled the space around Earth. They were ugly things by galactic standards. No elegant curves, no flowing energy patterns, just blocks of metal covered with guns. Look at them, the Kalani whispered. They have already built more. 3 weeks and they have doubled their fleet. A Drathi, a being that resembled a walking tree, leaned closer to look. How is this possible? Ship construction takes years, decades. Not for humans. Their ships do not use complex energy systems. No plasma cores. No quantum reactors. They use simple fusion engines. And those... He paused, unable to say the word. Railguns, another merchant finished. Kinetic accelerators. Metal rods thrown at a fraction of light speed. Their entire military philosophy is different from ours, the Kalani said. While we spend years building elegant ships with perfect shields, they build simple boxes filled with weapons that ignore shields completely. The Drathi's leaves rustled with unease. I have studied the recordings. Their projectiles move so fast our sensors barely detect them. By the time you see one coming, you are already dead. Across the station, similar conversations were happening. Fear spread like a disease. For thousands of years, the species of the galaxy had believed in certain truths. Energy weapons were superior. Shields were the ultimate defense. The Vexari were the greatest military power. The Galactic Council kept the peace. Now all of those truths had been shattered. A species that most had never heard of had changed everything in a matter of minutes. On Nexus Prime, the Council was in emergency session for the 15th day in a row. The eldest floated at the center of the chamber, struggling to maintain order. The debates had become increasingly hostile. We must ban kinetic weapons, the Vexari ambassador shouted. All species must be prohibited from developing them. And how do you propose to enforce such a ban? The Manthari representative clicked back. The humans already have these weapons. Will you ask them nicely to destroy them? If they refuse, we will make them. You tried that already. It did not end well for you. Ambassador Dravik's face twisted with rage. Before he could respond, another voice cut through the chamber. The honorable representatives should calm themselves. Everyone turned to look at the speaker. She was a Sarthi, a species of tall, thin beings with silver skin and large black eyes. The Sarthi were known for their intelligence and their neutrality in political matters. Their representative, Ambassador Yelana, rarely spoke in council sessions. When she did, others listened. I have spent these 3 weeks studying everything we know about humans, Yelana continued. I have analyzed their history, their culture, their technology. I believe I have insights that the council needs to hear. The eldest gestured for her to continue. Yelana activated her platform's display system. Images appeared in the air above the chamber. Pictures of Earth. Pictures of human history. Pictures of war. Humans are unique among known species, she began. They evolved on a world of extreme conditions. High gravity, violent weather, predators everywhere. Resources were scarce. Competition was fierce. The images showed ancient humans hunting large animals with primitive weapons. Unlike most intelligent species, humans did not evolve in peaceful conditions. They evolved as predators and prey at the same time. This created certain traits that seem strange to us, but are essential to understanding them. The images changed to show human armies throughout history. First, humans are extremely adaptable. They can survive in almost any environment. Their bodies are resilient, able to heal from injuries that would kill most species. Second, humans are fiercely territorial. They will fight to the death to protect what they consider their own. Third, and most importantly, humans never stopped being violent. A murmur ran through the chamber. Violence was something most species had eliminated from their cultures long ago. The idea of a species that had not was disturbing. When most species develop technology, they become peaceful, Yelena continued. War becomes inefficient. Cooperation becomes the dominant strategy. But humans took a different path. They continued to fight each other even as their technology advanced. In fact, their most impressive technological achievements came from their wars. She showed images of human weapons, swords, guns, tanks, aircraft, nuclear weapons. The railgun technology that destroyed the Vexry fleet is not a recent invention. Humans have been developing kinetic weapons for their entire history. They never stopped. While we were building elegant energy weapons, they were perfecting the art of throwing things very, very fast. The chamber was silent. No one knew what to say. But there is something else you need to understand, Yelena said. Something that gives me hope. Humans are not mindless killers. They have a concept they call honor. They have rules for warfare. They spare those who surrender. They protect the innocent. They feel guilt when they kill unnecessarily. That does not match what we saw, Dravik interrupted. They slaughtered our fleet without mercy. Your fleet attacked their homeworld, Yelena replied calmly. Your admiral threatened to destroy their cities. By human standards, they showed great restraint. They could have killed every one of your soldiers. Instead, they allowed many to escape. This was true and everyone knew it. The surviving Vexry ships had been allowed to flee. No one had pursued them. My recommendation, Yelena concluded, is that we send a diplomatic mission to Earth. We need to talk to the humans. We need to understand them. And we need to convince them that we are not their enemies. The chamber exploded with debate. Some agreed with Yelena. Others thought it was too dangerous. The Vexry demanded that the humans be treated as criminals. Other species wanted to offer alliance. In the end, the eldest made the decision. A diplomatic mission will be sent to Earth. Representatives from all major factions will be included. We will offer the humans membership in the Galactic Council.
On Earth, the news of the coming diplomatic mission was received with mixed reactions. President Martinez stood in the Oval Office, surrounded by advisors. General Chun was there along with the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and a dozen other officials. The mood was tense. They want to talk, the Secretary of State said. That's a good sign. If they wanted to attack us again, they wouldn't bother with diplomacy. Unless it's a trick, General Chun replied. They could be using the diplomatic mission to gather intelligence. Learn our weaknesses. Prepare a more effective attack. You think they would risk their diplomats like that? I think we have no idea what these aliens are capable of. We've never met them. We don't know their culture, their values, their concept of truth. For all we know, lying and deception are considered virtues to them. President Martinez raised a hand for silence. General Chun has a point. We need to be careful, but we also need to take this opportunity. We can't fight the entire galaxy alone. If there's a chance for peace, we have to try. So, we let them come to Earth? No. The president shook his head. We don't know what they might bring with them. Weapons we can't detect. Diseases we can't cure. We meet them somewhere neutral. Somewhere we can control. Where? General Chun asked. The president thought for a moment. Mars. We have a colony there. Small but functional. We can build a proper meeting facility. It's far enough from Earth that any treachery would not immediately threaten our homeworld, but close enough that we can respond quickly if needed. The Secretary of State nodded slowly. That could work. We would need to transport them somehow. No. General Chen's voice was firm. We don't use their ships. We don't trust their technology. We bring them in our own vessels. They arrive on our terms, or they don't arrive at all. This was the message sent to the Galactic Council. The humans agreed to a diplomatic meeting, but only under their conditions. The alien representatives would be transported in human ships. They would meet on Mars. They would be searched for weapons and monitoring devices. Any attempt at deception would be considered an act of war. The Council was surprised by the demands. Most species would be eager to see alien technology, to travel in advanced ships, to learn from their betters. The humans refused all of these opportunities. They seemed almost insulted by the offer. They are arrogant, Dravik sneered. They think themselves superior to us. Or cautious, Yelena replied. They have just been attacked by aliens. They have no reason to trust us. Their demands are reasonable given the circumstances. In the end, the council agreed. A diplomatic delegation was assembled. It included representatives from the Vexari, the Sarthi, the Manthari, and a dozen other species. The eldest itself chose to send a fragment of its consciousness to observe. And, unknown to most, the Crone Dominion also sent a representative. A being named Draknol, who was officially a minor diplomat, but was actually one of the Supreme Lord's most trusted agents. 6 weeks after the Battle of Earth, a human ship arrived at Nexus Prime to collect the delegates. It was called the Defiance, half a kilometer long, bristling with railguns. It was a statement of intent. The alien delegates gathered in the station's docking bay, watching the ship approach. Most had never seen a human vessel up close. Now they could see every detail. The thick armor plating, the multiple gun turrets, the complete absence of graceful curves that characterized galactic ship design. It looks like a weapon pretending to be a ship, a Kalani observer muttered. That is exactly what it is. Yelena replied quietly. The Defiance docked. An airlock opened. And for the first time, the delegates saw humans in person. There were 3 of them. 2 soldiers in armor that covered their entire bodies, carrying weapons that looked disturbingly similar to miniature railguns. And between them, a woman in a simple uniform. She was not tall by human standards, but she moved with confidence. Her skin was brown, her hair black, her eyes dark and sharp. She looked at the assembled aliens without fear or awe. I am Ambassador Diana Rodriguez, she said. Her voice was translated instantly by devices every delegate carried. I represent the United Nations of Earth. You are all welcome aboard the Defiance. Please follow me. We will depart immediately. The delegates looked at each other. No formal greetings. No ceremonial exchanges. Just a brief introduction and an order to follow. Ambassador Rodriguez, Yelena said carefully. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I thank you for... We can do formal greetings when we reach Mars, Diana interrupted. For now, I need you all aboard. Space is dangerous. And I don't like waiting in one place for too long.
She turned and walked back into the ship without checking if anyone followed. The 2 soldiers waited, their faces hidden behind helmets, their weapons held in positions that were not quite threatening, but not quite safe either. Slowly, the delegates began to board. The journey to Mars took 3 days. During that time, Ambassador Rodriguez organized several informal meetings. She answered questions about Earth, about human culture, about the war with the Vexari. She was polite but distant, giving information without giving trust. You must understand our position, she explained during one meeting. 3 weeks ago, we thought we were alone in the universe. Then suddenly we learned that hundreds of species existed, and the first ones we met tried to conquer us. We are still processing this. We are still deciding what to think about all of you. We are not all like the Vexari, Yelena said gently. Most species in the galaxy are peaceful. We trade. We cooperate. We help each other. War is rare among us. War is rare. Diana raised an eyebrow. The Vexari seemed pretty good at it. From what we've learned, they've been conquering species for thousands of years. That is true, but the Vexari are the exception, not the rule. And yet no one stopped them. The council let them conquer and enslave for millennia. Why? Yelena had no good answer for that. The truth was shameful. The Vexari were too strong. No one wanted to risk war with them, so everyone looked away while weaker species suffered. We tried, she said finally. We passed resolutions. We issued condemnations. We restricted their access to certain technologies. But you are right. We did not stop them. Diana nodded slowly. I appreciate your honesty, Ambassador. It tells me something important about your people. And what is that? That you can admit when you're wrong. That's a good starting point for a relationship. On the third day, Mars appeared on the view screens. The red planet, cold and barren, but dotted with human structures. Domes and towers rose from the rust-colored surface. Ships moved in orbit. A ring of defense platforms surrounded the entire planet. More railguns, the delegates realized. More of those terrible weapons. They landed at a facility built specifically for this meeting. Simple but functional, with quarters for each delegation and a large conference room in the center. General Chun was waiting for them. She stood at attention as the delegates filed off the shuttle. Her uniform crisp, her face expressionless. Behind her stood a row of soldiers, all armed, all watching. "Welcome to Mars," she said. "I am General Sarah Chun, commander of Earth's defense forces. I will be overseeing security during these talks." "General Chun," Ambassador Dravik said, stepping forward. His voice was cold with barely contained hatred. "I know who you are. You are the one who murdered Admiral Vexner. You are the one who destroyed our fleet." The other delegates tensed. Some reached for weapons they had been forced to leave on the ship. The soldiers behind General Chun shifted slightly, their hands moving toward their guns. But Sarachin just smiled. "Admiral Vexner announced his intention to destroy our cities and enslave our people," she said calmly. "He threatened 7 billion innocent lives. I did what any soldier would do. I protected my home. If that makes me a murderer in your eyes, so be it. But if you're looking for an apology, you won't get one." Dravik's 4 eyes blazed with fury. But before he could respond, another voice spoke. "The ambassador will control himself." It was Yelena stepping between them. "We are here to talk, not to fight. The past is the past. We must focus on the future." For a long moment, Dravik and Chun stared at each other. The tension was thick enough to taste. Then slowly Dravik stepped back. "We will talk," he said. "But do not think this is over, General. The Vexeri do not forget. And we do not forgive." "Neither do we," Chun replied. "Remember that." The talks continued for 3 days. Slowly, carefully, terms were negotiated. Humanity would be granted membership in the Galactic Council. Trade relations would be established. Cultural exchanges would begin. In return, the Vexeri would be required to pay reparations for their attempted invasion. A formal apology would be issued. Dravik protested every point, but he was alone. The other delegates were tired of Vexeri aggression. They saw humanity as a potential counterweight to Vexeri power. For the first time in millennia, someone could actually challenge the Empire. On the final day of talks, Ambassador Rodriguez stood before the assembled delegates. "We accept your offer of membership," she said, "but understand this. We will not be bullied. We will not be manipulated. We will not allow any species to threaten our people or our allies. We come in peace, but we are prepared for war." She paused, looking at each delegate in turn. "The galaxy has learned what our railguns can do. Let us hope it never needs to learn again."